Fall and winter are all about rhythms and routines for me here in our homestead. Spring and summer force me to be more fluid and flexible, but when the weather turns cooler and the days get shorter, I turn to my systems and routines to keep me on track and to keep my head above water. I find comfort and stability in routine, and I find that my kids do much better as well when they know what to expect. Cody enjoys being more spur of the moment than me. He likes to live life a little closer to the edge than I do. So meshing our schedules and styles is a little interesting at this time of the year. But we always get it figured out eventually. I guess that's what fall is for, a transition season to prep us for winter.
This video is sponsored by Thrive Market.
Today I'm going to go down to the basement and gather foods that we grew and raised this summer and peel and chop and thaw them to prep healthy meals for the week. This routine is essential for me in keeping my stress levels low and ensuring that we eat nutritious meals all week long rather than turning to convenience foods when we're in a hurry. Meal prep only takes me about 2 hours on Monday morning, which is so worth it to me. I started out this morning by rinsing the sprouts and straining the milk kefir, and I also mixed up a batch of sourdough tortillas first thing so that they can ferment all day before I fry them up this afternoon. One of the most foundational routines that I have in the winter and in the fall is meal prepping. This is one of those routines that often kind of slips a little bit in the summer because I'm just kind of forced to be outside a lot. But now that all the harvests are in from the garden, this is something I really want to incorporate because I don't want all of this food to go to waste. This is actually one of the questions that we get all the time is, do you actually use all of that food that you grow? And I can say yes. It hasn't always been like that. It has definitely been a struggle to know how to use up all of this food that we grow. But if we're gonna go to the trouble of growing all of this stuff, we're definitely gonna use it. And meal prepping is something that has really helped me to get all the food used, plus take a huge just load of stress off of my mind. At this point, I'm still using up all of the tiny potatoes, the ones with stab marks, the ones that got eaten by who knows what animals out there. So these don't look so great, but they're definitely good food and I don't want them to go to waste. So I always, the first few weeks of eating out of the root cellar is always eating the ugly food. Still tastes great. What meal prepping consists of for me is just coming up with a really simplified menu, and then I thaw all the meat for the recipe as well as chop all the veggies, get everything out of the root cellar that needs to be gotten out of the root cellar. So I don't actually do much cooking at all. It's just prepping everything so that I can just throw things in the oven, have everything thawed before the meal actually happens. I don't have to think about what the meal is going to be every single morning. It just takes so much of the decision fatigue out of the whole cooking process for me. These are some of my old green beans that I really want to use up. Excuse Cody's weight bench. I'm going to get some fruit out for my kiddos to enjoy this week for snacks. I think we'll go with strawberries. Also going to cook up some of our dried beans. I'm really excited about this. The first meal that I have on my menu is sweet potato hash with onions and then also steak pieces in it. And then a side of green beans. My next meal is going to be potato fries, white potatoes, not sweet potatoes. And then I'm going to make some basil baked chicken. And then my next meal is going to be rice and beans. And then I have some chicken breast that's been over in the sink thawing for a while that I'm gonna marinate, and that's just gonna be a really quick meal. I don't have quite as many meals to prep this week because we're gonna be gone for the weekend. So I'm just doing 3 big dinners and then some sides and snacks and things like that.
Before Michelle gets into prepping the food, I want to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Thrive Market. There's just some things we can't grow here on our homestead, and Thrive Market is becoming one of our favorite places to shop. It's an online membership-based grocery store with a huge selection of healthy products at great prices that you can order online and get shipped straight to your door. We just got another order in with some essentials and a few fun things. Michelle's dishwasher detergent that she can get a lot cheaper on Thrive Market. A cleaner, shampoo, and conditioner that we can get in a larger size, so that is a better price. Besides getting a better price on stuff, there's some things we just can't even get locally, like these graham crackers. Gotta have s'mores every once in a while. It is campfire season. We get these siete chips made with avocado oil. We really like to have snack like this every once in a while. And of course we get our collagen. I haven't been drinking my protein chocolate milk as much, but something similar, I've been having a protein smoothie every morning. We got a couple different kind of beef sticks. Thrive Market had the best price I could find for grass-fed beef sticks. I'm gonna talk about this a little bit more later, but I've been really trying to nail down a workout routine, and I've been trying to eat a lot more protein, and I like to snack, and I tend to snack on things that aren't the best for losing weight and bodybuilding, so hence the beef sticks. And ironically enough, what's in here is kind of the opposite of that. Chocolate. And the reason it came in this bag was just to keep it cold. Thrive has guaranteed savings on every order, and if you find a lower price somewhere else, they'll match it. And if you're looking for foods to fit a certain diet, not only do they have a huge selection, but you can also filter your searches to only include things that fit within what you're looking for. So go to the link in the description, and when you use that link, you'll get 30% off your first order, plus a free gift worth up to $60.
The way this meal prep works is I just prep a really big dinner for each day that we're going to be home during the week. This week we're only going to be home 3 days, so I'm prepping 3 big dinners. And then the way this works is I make a little bit more than enough for a dinner, and then we eat the leftovers the next day for lunch. So that covers everything really well. And then on Saturdays, I always just make the sourdough discard pizzas. I don't have to prep for those. And then Sundays, we just wing it. That's kind of my break day. So this is what works really well for us. We've not been wasting food this way, and I cannot tell you how much stress this has taken off of my plate during the winter. Cooking is my least favorite activity as a mom and as a homesteader. I just don't enjoy cooking. When I was a kid, I loved to be outside. I was a tomboy, and so I just never really, I guess, cultivated a love for cooking. I love cleaning and organizing, gardening, all the things, but cooking is very hard for me. And so one thing that I've really struggled with is resentment towards my kids when they come to me like 20 times a day and are like, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. And I really struggled with resentment because I always had to like come up with something, because we're an ingredient household, and so there's not just packaged snacks that they can grab. I know it's not their fault, obviously, that they're hungry, but I knew I needed to do something about it because I was really struggling with it. This has really helped me just to have a few snacks on hand so that when they ask for something, I can just send them to get food. There's something there, and I don't have to struggle with that frustration. Like I said, these are all the veggies that have all the bad spots, so it's taking me a bit longer than normal to chop them all up. I just don't want all of these things to go to waste. One of my biggest stressors is just having to think about food all the time because we cook 3 meals from scratch. And so it seems like as soon as I'm done with breakfast, I have to start thinking about lunch, and then I have to start thinking about dinner. With having all of this meal prepping done, it takes all of the thinking, it takes all of the thought behind meals away. I just don't have to think about it anymore. So it's not like I'm not cooking still every day. I definitely am. I'm not gonna cook up all these meals and just have them ready to pop in the oven. Still have to cook, but I don't have to think about it. My day doesn't have to revolve around remembering what meat to thaw, or just even thinking about what food is in the fridge that I have to make up in the evening. I also found that often what would happen is I would come to like an hour before dinner and I didn't know what to make. And so instead of going down to the root cellar and grabbing a bunch of potatoes and peeling them, I would just grab a bag of noodles because I was like, oh, I'll do the potatoes tomorrow night. And it ended up I wasted a lot of food because I just was planning poorly and didn't have the time to make the stuff. Another thing that I really noticed when I started meal prepping was that I didn't have as many dishes throughout the week. There's just something so efficient about only getting the cutting board out one time, only getting the knife out one time. What I'm essentially doing is making one of those, you know, those meal services that will send a box of like chopped veggies. All that you have to do is like cook the stuff and sear the meat and stuff. That's essentially what I'm doing, and it just makes life so easy. Quickly here before I forget, I'm going to get these beans soaking with just a little bit of apple cider vinegar. I'm just gonna let these soak for a few hours, and then I'll cook these tonight when I'm cooking supper. Soaking beans with a little bit of apple cider vinegar just really helps to make them more digestible, so it's a step that I try not to skip. Because these beans are fresh, I decided not to cook them in the Instant Pot. They can get mushy pretty fast if they're fresh, so these I'm just gonna cook them on the stove so that I can watch them closely. If you don't have a chopper like this, you are missing out on life. Here's some onions and garlic to go into the sweet potato hash. I'm moving on now to the potato fries that I'm gonna be making. I just stabbed myself, so let me start over. Moving on now to the potato fries that I'm prepping. This is probably one of my most asked questions of all time, especially on Instagram, is what do you do to keep your potatoes from turning brown in the refrigerator after you meal prep them? Honestly, I am just not picky. If they turn a little bit brown, it does not bother me. If you want to, you can dump them in salt water or even store them in salt water and then they won't get brown. But it's just not a big deal to me. The amount of oxidation that's gonna happen with your potatoes is gonna depend on the variety you use. At least that's what I've been told. And Yukon Gold does really well with these don't turn black. They turn a little bitish brown, but not black. It just doesn't bother me, and you never notice after they're cooked. So I don't do anything. I just store them in bags. Since I'm using homegrown potatoes with a thinner skin, I'm also not peeling them. We don't really notice the peel on them. The only time I peel my potatoes is like for mashed potatoes. There's like all kinds of controversy around peeling potatoes versus not peeling potatoes. To me, frankly, it's just not too big of a deal, so I just leave them on.
And in case you're wondering where this pretty blue bowl came from, it was a wedding gift, so we have no idea.
I don't normally do a ton with any of the meat that I put out. I just set it into the bottom drawer of my fridge in a pan of some kind and just let it thaw slowly over the course of the week. Today I am going to throw this chicken breast into a quick marinade because I have one meal that I'm gonna have to do on the fly. So I'm just gonna cut this up today and put it into a bag with a marinade, and then I can just pull it out and put it directly into the pan. No cutting or anything involved the evening that we have something going. Here's a cool hack for you guys. This one's free. You know this weird tendon here in the chicken breast? You just put it in a fork like that. Grab onto it with a paper towel. Pull it out, and you have a tendon-free chicken. I'm going to throw the onions and garlic in with this chicken. They'll just marinate, and then I'll have all of my veggies and chicken together to throw into the skillet. I'm gonna put some fresh basil in there from the garden. I don't use real exact measurements when I'm making a marinade. I usually just do apple cider vinegar, just a splash of avocado oil. You could also use olive oil, but I'm using this for a higher heat cooking, so avocado is better. Tiny bit of liquid smoke. This is the best liquid smoke ever. A little bit of maple syrup makes it so yummy. I also sometimes add coconut aminos, but I don't have any on hand today, so it'll taste fine without it. And then just lots of salt, smoked paprika, makes it really yummy, and some black pepper. I'm also gonna put in some oregano. This is fresh from our garden, or dried from our garden, I guess. We're gonna stir this up and it will taste absolutely amazing in 2 days. I have all of my meat and veggies prepped and ready, which is, I think of that as the bulk of my meal prep. Now I'm just going to prep a few sides for snacks and things like that, just to make so that the fridge feels stocked with food that somebody can grab on a whim. My tortillas right here are still fermenting. I mixed these first thing this morning, and then I'll be rolling those out and frying them this afternoon. I'm going to hard boil some eggs. That's a really good protein-rich snack for me and Cody especially. I like to steam eggs because it makes so that the shell comes off easier, especially with farm fresh eggs. It can be really hard to get that shell off. This isn't like foolproof, but most of them, it does make the shell come off really easily. I'm gonna steam these for 12 minutes. Once I hear that it's bubbling and starting to steam, I'll set my timer. While these eggs steam, I'm going to quickly whip up a batch of granola bars. It's basically like a caramel sauce, and then you pour it over oatmeal and cereal. I'll have Cody put this recipe in the description box. This is honey from our bees. Makes everything taste 100 times better. Key to this recipe is to let your syrup boil for at least 1 minute. This is what is going to hold your granola bars together. The thing that I really like about this recipe is that it doesn't have any nut butter in it. A lot of granola bar recipes just have lots of peanut butter. Peanut butter doesn't sit that well in my stomach, and so I found a recipe finally that I love that does not have peanut butter. I used some puff spelt from Stutzman Farms, but you can use anything for this cereal portion. Like, these bars are very, very adaptable. I just kind of throw in a little bit of whatever I've got on hand. You want your oats and your cereal and everything to be really nice and coated with the syrup. Another key to these bars is to press them as hard as you possibly can down into the pan. This really helps them to hold their shape. I'm gonna stick these in the fridge, let them harden a little bit, and then I'm going to put some chocolate on top. These bars are pretty sweet, so I just like to put some organic unsweetened chocolate on top. I'll sometimes add just a few chocolate chips in just for the tiniest little bit of sweetness, but not very sweet. What did the kids do with the chocolate chips?
What's wrong, babe?
Not quite enough chocolate. I'm going to cut up some carrot sticks yet for snacks for the kids and for myself throughout the day. And then we are going to head out to the garden and get some stuff done outside this afternoon. And once we're done in the garden, I'll come back inside and quickly fry up my tortillas and cook the beans and start on supper. If my carrots are really fresh and nice, I do not peel them. I definitely will once they've been in the fridge a little bit longer, but when they're like this, the skins are so tender, you don't even know that they're there. These carrots are so, so sweet and tasty.
I want to get the cover crop planted in the garden here that I wasn't able to plant last week because it was too wet. It finally dried out enough. I mowed some of the weeds down. Now I need to till it and then sow the seed. And I'll talk about the cover crop and stuff once I get to that part. Well, that didn't work out so well. This might sound a little random, but it goes along with some of the things Michelle has been talking about, and this seemed like a good enough spot to put it. As we can feel that winter is coming, we're really wanting to stay ahead of the struggles that come with being stuck inside and not seeing much of the sun. One thing that Michelle and I have found is that exercise really helps us stay on top of our mental health. So we're both working on nailing down a workout routine, and we signed up for a 5K to do together to give us some motivation to run. If we would wait until the thick of winter and we're already riding the struggle bus to try and get started on a good routine, it'd just be that much harder. And if there's one thing we've learned in a decade of homesteading, it's that it's a whole lot easier to manage anything on a homestead if you aren't always waiting until the last minute. I just want to rake out a few of these tire ruts before I throw the seed down. I'm using a borrowed tiller that's really not wide enough for the tractor that I'm using, but it still works. It's a lot faster and easier than using the walk behind tiller. Looks like we missed a few potatoes. We should be composting before putting this cover crop down. It's always better to compost in the fall so that it has time to like freeze and thaw and kind of get worked into the soil, I guess, that way. But we're running a little low on compost right now, and I want to save what compost we have for the raised beds over there. And I'm not going to get to composting those raised beds today because I've been spending most of my day videoing Michelle getting her meal prep done. We got buckwheat seed to use as our cover crop for our garden. It works really well as a cover crop because it establishes, germinates, and grows really quickly. Hoping this is soon enough for it to grow before a frost, because this stuff winter kills, which is also a really good thing. We planted cover crops that didn't winter kill, and they were a real pain to try to get out then in the spring. But I'm just hoping this is soon enough so that it doesn't get killed by the frost before it gets very big at all. I'm kind of hoping it grows fast enough that it actually gets to the place where it'll be good for the bees a little bit before winter. There's a few things that we want to get out of a cover crop. One of them is weed suppression. Hopefully it'll grow faster than any of the other weeds and won't let any noxious weeds go to seed. The other thing we get out of it is it's basically like a fertilizer. Another name for it is a green manure. So then this will winter kill, and then in the spring we'll till this in, and that's adding something back into the soil. And it also just covers and protects the soil over the winter. So we still will probably get rain this fall that we don't want our topsoil washing away. And it's just really not good for the soil to be left bare.
You do realize the ducks think you're feeding them?
Go! Go! I do have a seeder that I could probably use for this, but I think this will be easier and it'll do just fine. These seeds are really weird to sow because they're so big. I'm used to like tiny little grass seeds or something that kind of just float out of your hand, and these are just like these big chunks. I got about enough seed for the garden, and I have a bunch left, so I think maybe I'm not sowing it thick enough. Like one of those flower dudes at the weddings.
We finally finished in the garden. It's later than I would like it to be, but that's okay. My tortillas are definitely ready to be shaped and stuff, so I'm gonna roll these out and fry them up. Because it's getting so late, me and Cody are going to have to collaborate a little bit here. I'm gonna cut these into about 24 pieces. Cody is going to fry up some steaks while I do these tortillas, and hopefully we can get this all done before the kids start falling apart from being hungry.
Like packing the back of a minivan.
One of the things people always say when they see me making tortillas is get yourself a tortilla press. I actually had a tortilla press for a long time, and I just felt like I could get flour tortillas rolled out thinner if I just use a rolling pin, so that's why I do this. This is just my preferred method. I'm not a huge gadget fan. I made a double batch of these tortillas today, so it should make around 20 tortillas or so. I store some of these tortillas just out on the counter, like in a Ziploc bag, and then the rest of them I store in the freezer. If you find that your tortillas are a little bit brittle, not quite as soft, just throw them back on a hot pan like this, a hot cast iron pan, for a couple seconds. It'll soften them right back up, and you'll have this beautiful, pliable tortilla. We are going to eat supper, and then I'm going to go on a walk. If I have to be in this kitchen for another minute, I'm gonna go up and smoke. It's been a day.
There are a few bloop scenes coming up, so stick around, but once those are done, click on the video that pops up to watch it next, where we'll go even deeper on food production and storage. Also, don't forget to check out Thrive Market and use our link in the description for that discount.
Okay. Gotta be smarter than the lid. Ouch, it's so hot.